Good morning. Welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. There's a poll question running already. I've just set it up. Should Celtic sell Dyson Maeda in the next transfer window? Give me your thoughts on that in the comment section. We'll get them up. And comment from George yesterday. Seriously, need strikers and players who can play in this formation or we're screwed. It wasn't great to watch yesterday. I think that, 4 goals in the first 10 minutes was just absolutely crazy. And anyone that thought that it was going to be a goal fest, it kind of didn't materialise. We scored 4 goals, which is good because we haven't been scoring 4 goals, but we'd scored 3 goals at Livingston the last couple of times we'd played them. There was it was kind of expected Celtic to score at least 3 goals yesterday. The defence, well, that was all over the place, wasn't it? Yang on that same side as Tony Ralston. The quicker that we get back Alistair, when is Alistair Johnson back? I think that do we need someone to come in place of Tony Ralston? Because him and Yang, Yang could be gone in the next window. But the question is Dyson was having a Dyson day, wasn't he? He was off the boil. He wasn't putting in 110%. His passing was woeful. He was just doing enough to get through the game. Do you think that we should sell him? Because he's going into the final year of his contract. And I don't want that to happen the same as what happens to a certain player that was worth 8 million and got to walk away for free. But then again, maybe Celtic will just let Dyson Maeda walk away for free, and we won't get anywhere near the once 30 million that we thought we would get for Dyson. It's crazy to think that we once thought we would get 30 million for Dyson Maeda. There is absolutely no chance of that happening. So there was the final scores yesterday. That was the head-to-head. I'm going to come off the screen and get on to that one. Let's get rid of that's the team. I'll just do that quickly. Right, let's jump into some of the comments from yesterday. Watch Bowie, 100 times better than Johnny Kenny. We're not talking about Johnny Kenny this morning. We're talking about Dyson Maeda. Dyson Maeda is a player that's meant to be worth... even when Dyson Maeda played in the position of Johnny Kenny, I don't know how we're expecting any striker to score goals because the striker is not getting the ball. Dyson Maeda he didn't do anything when he was playing in the striker's role. So I think that blaming Johnny Kenny is ridiculous. Who are we going to buy? Don't know. Call Ghostbusters on that one. It was good to see that VS getting a game. Grab boy. Sinisalo getting a game. Yeah, it was good seeing him getting a game, but was he to blame? Could he have done anything better? Could have Kasper Schmeichel have done anything better for that goal? The match winner, Benji Nygren. The manager did say, look, when I was at Columbus Crew, I wanted to have him. So I know him really well. I know what he can do. That was an interesting one because Benji Nygren is a player that sort of Celtic fans have a love-hate relationship with. They're not too sure exactly where he should be playing, what position he should be playing. But Martin O'Neill seen enough or saw enough of him to say that he wants him to become the 4th greatest Swede ever. And that's interesting because Martin O'Neill knows a player or two. And for him to turn around to Benji Nygren and say, look, you've got that ability in you, I want you to go and be the 4th best Swede ever in my lifetime. Ralston was piss poor yesterday. Yeah. Maeda's has been going through the motions for months. Time for him to go, says Somerset Tam. Yeah, I think we can all see that, isn't there's a big bit of truth in that. Sell Maeda, we've got a championship to try and claw back. Selling Maeda is madness. having a player that's worse than Yang and a man down is madness. He was worse than Yang yesterday. As much as wanted Cincinnati to get beat, getting beat as near post. Come on, it was a rocket shot, and it had a curve on the ball. Don't think if he'd got his hand to it, it still would have went in. The power that was on that shot. I don't think there was many keepers saying that. Would you think he'd play well to get a decent? You were thinking, yeah. Well, there is that, or you just play rubbish to stay at the team to the World Cup, and nobody comes in for you. He's a very clever player, and I'd like to know. I mean, the manager said that Daiz Maeda had the opportunity to leave, but didn't. So what really happened in the summer? I mean, we all know the story that Daiz Maeda emptied his locker. He had it emptied for 4 days. He thought he was leaving the club. So why didn't he leave the club? Did the club put a stop to it because they couldn't get someone else in? Did Daiz Maeda not manage to agree terms with this mystery club? We don't know who the club was. In fact, if there was a club, although we know that the club have come out, well, the manager's come out and said that he had the opportunity to leave but didn't. The Yang gang's on fire. Yang is on fire, and that's one player that may be playing to the audience, playing to potential suitors. That's a player that's went, you Celtic, I'm going to show people what I can do. And it wouldn't surprise me if Yang left in the next window. He was down in Birmingham. There's talk that Birmingham are going to come back in for him. Can they get him for the £3 million that they had agreed in the summer? Or will Yang stay to the end of the season and then move? I don't know. Maeda must be looking at Kyogo and Greg Taylor and thinking, that. Let's be honest, Maeda wants to stay because he's getting game time for the World Cup. Let's see he moves and doesn't get a call up for Japan. That's interesting. I think that's the only reason he wants to stay, because he's maybe seen Kyogo move just before the World Cup and his career go into free fall. And anybody that wants Kyogo back is absolutely crazy, because the player wanted to wait for 10 months. But anyway, it's interesting to see that. I think one of the highlights of yesterday, obviously Benji Nygren gets man of the match, weirdly, obviously for scoring the 2 goals. He is all over the pitch. If a decent bid had come in, he would have left. This board would have just sold him, gone bye-bye. But why did he have his locker emptied for 4 days? And that's common knowledge. That's all I'm saying. Maybe Maeda's feeling not comfortable in Scotland. No, because we all know that he wants away. In the truth. But anyway, we move on. The similar arrival of Benji Nygren for a bargain price of £1.7 million seems to be a good bit of business by Celtic, one of the players that did come in the summer and has made an impact. And then the manager says, when I was at Columbus Crew, I wanted to have him. I know him really well, so I know what he can do. I think he's got big potential. He hasn't reached that yet. Now, that was interesting that the manager says that Benji Nygren hasn't reached his potential. But there's a lot of Celtic players that aren't sure what Benji Nygren's best position is, and I don't think that the manager knows yet what his best position is. He said he's not a dribbler, but he has the ability to make runs for his teammates. He also has techniques. He knows that he has to become stronger. Now, that's interesting, because we've spoken about the fact that this Celtic team is lightweight. And if Benji Nygren was to become one of those players that were to get into the gym and pump some iron for a couple of months to build on his upper body strength and become that midfield general, you never know. Maybe Benji Nygren is the rough in the diamond, that if he improves his upper body physicality, and like the manager says, he has to become stronger, he has to believe a little more, and he has to believe in himself, everything will be a challenge for him. He says Celtic fell behind twice yesterday, as we know. after 8 minutes. After 3 minutes and after 8 minutes, it was 2-1. Strangely enough, Celtic managed to get the goal back. Nancy's pleased with the sides. Are you pleased with the way that the game went yesterday? Can you blame Yang for playing in front of Ralston, the pass back merchant? Hey, yeah, Ralston is the pass back merchant, isn't he? Big Rab doesn't believe anything. He emptied his no player empties his locker in hope. No player. If that was the case, half the Celtic team would empty their locker every summer in hope that someone comes in for them. You only empty your locker when you have an indication that something's about to happen. That's the only reason. When the club and your agent inform you, you might not be going back to the training ground tomorrow. You might be flying out tonight. That's the only reason that players empty their locker. And if you think otherwise, you must have a worse hangover than anybody I know. Tierney loves a good pass back too. Yeah, what's happened to him? What's happened to Tierney? Babe, let's get back to the game. Nancy said that he was pleased with the side's display after they cut the gap to Hearts. It wasn't really us that cut the gap, though, wasn't it? It was them that slipped up. But then, if we hadn't slipped up so many times this season, we'd be top of the table. And it could be a good season to turn around that little bit, because it's... Anyway, the manager did say he liked the competitive spirit we had. We came back twice from behind. Pardon me. We were able to score 4 goals. That was kind of expected by some Celtic fans. I expected us to score 3. The stats were there to show that we'd done it previously. We could have scored more goals, but obviously I really liked what we did in the first half. In the first half, I liked what we did because defensively we were strong. I sometimes think that he's mad. Defensively, we were strong. We were ripped apart in the first 10 minutes, mate. We lost 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. They had the ball and they played long ball. It was not easy to escape, and they also played man-to-man, which we noticed. Said that during the game. It looked like Daizen Maeda was getting man-marked by the 2 players on his side. But he said that he was pleased with the overall competitive spirit that we had. Sinisalo getting his first league appearance this season. Kasper Schmeichel wasn't able to shake off a fitness issue. His old man flu jag. David Martindale said that his side's failure to defend, and he says it was a soft penalty. Anybody that's got their arm out like this, come on, we know it's a penalty. If you want to see a soft penalty, go and watch the penalty decision at Ibrox yesterday, where the player sticks his foot out in front of another player, in front of the referee, in full view of every camera angle, in the box. Player goes down, no penalty. Blatant foul. How much longer does this go on in Scotland, where referees at Ibrox consistently cheat to make sure that their side retain momentum? We'll call it momentum. We won't call it cheating. We'll call it momentum. But they're the crazy ones that believe that all referees are against them. This isn't something new. This is something that's been going on for a long time. And you know what will happen? There will be a statement from the powers that be come out of the SFA, and they'll say it was an honest mistake. Just another honest mistake in the world of football when it comes to anything that happens with the Ibrox side. And if that kind of honest mistake is happening that blatantly 1 week before they play us, I'll tell you one thing, it's going to be interesting in next weekend. Baz, the wins, but it was scary. Stop being paranoid. Personally, I thought the Motherwell player stuck his leg out. Could have went either way, says Liam. Interesting, but who cares about the... We'll get back to Celtic. Baz, a win, but a scary win. It was a scary win, and it wasn't nice to watch at times. When you look at the formation of the team was all over the place. I think that the players are still adapting. Callum McGregor says that they're learning, and they're professional football players, for goodness sake. When your back three is in a back three, you know when to squeeze the pitch, you know when to widen. I think Tony Ralston was giving them that much space. I mean, Tony Ralston was coming right into the centre circle and even further. He was giving them the whole half of a pitch, but he was expecting Yank to come back and cover. So it's difficult to see the true formation, because I think that football people that like 4-4-2, and 4-4-2 is nice because you could see the formation. A 3-5-2 is nice because you could see the formation. The defenders generally stick in a 3, and the midfield might be in a different shape, but and then you've got 2 focal points. Johnny Kenny was a focal point yesterday. How many passes were made to Johnny Kenny? I can count on one hand how many direct passes were made to Johnny Kenny. That's not Johnny Kenny's fault. That's the system's fault. I mean, we're talking about bringing in a striker. What striker is going to get the ball in the way that we are playing? Because, I mean, people will say, well, it's Johnny Kenny not making space for himself. It's Johnny Kenny not doing this. There was one time that Johnny Kenny made a fantastic diagonal run in front of the defenders, and rather than give him the reverse ball back, playing him into space in the box, Celtic played it back through the middle and playing it this in front of the box. We've reverted to passing it about and trying to do the perfect goal. We can't even seem to get the perfect goal right. But not playing Johnny Kenny through at that point was criminal. Absolute criminal. And you can understand why Johnny Kenny's heads maybe went down, because when you make that kind of run, and it was a fantastic run, takes out the defenders, he would have been 1-on-1 with the keeper, but not, the ball didn't come to him, and he's left going. And because of his age, and because of the fact that he's not got the confidence right now, he's not as vocal about it. He just shrugged his shoulders and went, what the fuck? Fuck. What the fuck am I meant to do? I'm making the runs. I'm playing the game. The ball's not coming to me. If it was a John Hartson, if it was a Henrik Larsson, if it was a Chris Sutton type player, they would be very vocal about the fact that they had made that run. And maybe that's where Johnny Kenny's failing. Is that at 22-year-old, he's not one of the bigger voices at the club, and he's been put under this pressure, but he's not getting the ball. Does that come down to the older, experienced players are going for the safe option? There's a lot to be said about the performance yesterday, and I think that we were lucky at times, very lucky. There was one ball that spun over the bar at the beginning during the game. If that had went in, it'd been squeaky bum time for this team. And I think that another team, a good team, will score a lot of goals against us. I think there's every chance that you might see a 4-4 or a 5-5 game with Celtic this season, especially with the defenders. Now, let's talk about the defenders. You had Tony Ralston, you had Austin Trusty, and Kieran Tierney in the defence. And you've got to say, Tony Ralston was the pass back specialist yesterday. But is that because, and we'll try and think about why Tony Ralston was passing it back, because if Yang's not right on the side of the pitch, if he's not running the line, the first thing that Tony Ralston's wanting to do is pass it out and get it down the line. If Yang's not on running up and down that line, waiting to get the ball, Ralston's then going to turn around and pass it back, because he's not seen anybody in the midfield. There's no shape to the midfield. Benji Nygren, you're not sure what position he was playing in yesterday. He was a menace all over the pitch and just making runs. Callum McGregor's in that centre midfield himself, and he's generally got 2 players sitting on him. So you're thinking, right, if I play it to Calmac, I'm putting Calmac into danger. Instead, he tries to pass it to Trusty, which was a disaster, because that was the bad pass also. an even worse pass would have been if he attempted it to pass it back to the goalkeeper. Because if he'd done that, there was every chance that a Livingston player with their pace, Tony Ralston's not got any pace. A grandma with a shopping trolley's got more pace than Tony Ralston going backwards. And that's the reality of the situation. But Liam says it was scary how many goals, how we concede so many goals. Yes, it is. What's the point in comment if they never get read out? Says Davy Boy. There's 137 comments, Davy Boy. I'm not here to read every comment. I'm sorry. The comments are generally made for each other in the chat. I mean, if I'm here to read every comment, I'll be here for about 5 hours. And apologies, I don't have that kind of time in my life at this time in the morning on a Sunday when I've not had breakfast. Anyway, let's get into some more of the comments. Do you think that we could do better if we weren't a team that relies on midfielders to work double and win our games? I'd love 2 strikers. We'd get 10 times more goals. How? How would you get 10 times more goals? We're not getting the ball to our strikers. We're creating loads more chances under Nancy, but we're conceding more from corners for me. Yes, is that. Yang not in the space? Yep. Is our manager a hashid? I have no idea. And people wonder why I don't read every single comment. Kenny got a few passes but failed to control the ball. Good striker would have taken that in his stride. Hope he improves. That comes down to confidence. You know, yeah, don't forget that Kenny did a vital back kick, a back heel for Yang's goal yesterday. A key assist. People don't remember that though, do they? They just see the bad points coming out of it. Kenny is dire. Bring back Kyogo. The daily bring back Kyogo from someone. When O'Neill had a back 3, it was Balde, Malbe and Valharan compared to our back 3 now. Yes, and let's talk about that, because that is. And by the way, if you want a comment to stick out, generally that's what super chats are used for on YouTube, so that your comment sticks out. Just saying. When O'Neill had the back 3, we had Malby, Valharan and Balde. Big physical presences at the back. I mean, people talk about Tony Ralston would run through a wall for the team. So would they 3, but they were big and they were physical and they never got bullied. When you look at Austin Trusty, he's not the biggest and most physical player. He's not commanding in his box. He doesn't have the upper body strength to I mean, there was the Livingston striker was ragdolling Austin Trusty at times, completely ragdolling him. He was getting thrown all over the place. That's not a big, powerful centre back that puts fear into defenders. We don't have a defender like that. You know, we had them in abundance. Martin O'Neill knew the type of player that he wanted in the back 3. I just hope that Wilfried Nancy can go out and get that type of player. Even Cameron Carter-Vickers isn't that type of player. He's big and he's strong, but I tell you one thing. Thanks for broadcasting my comment, Baz. I'll just keep it at the end now. When the comments come through and there's now 160, do you know, I can't just go read through every single one, but some people fucking take the huff about it. Never mind. I could run faster than Ralston at 64. Right, let's talk about the physicality of the defence though. Kieran Tierney, he's not a physical specimen, is he? He's not. There's a lot that Kieran Tierney brings to the game. I think in this system, Kieran Tierney would be better playing one step forward. Yeah, what happened with Scales? Well, Scales has never had a look in ever since he went up for a header at a corner and stuck it in the back of his own net. I think that the manager, he's obviously had words with the manager, and the manager's had words with him, and he sees Kieran Tierney as the better player. Kieran Tierney is the better player, but you would think with this system, thank you, Grab Boy. Exactly. We could go down the road of just like being like every other podcast if you want, but thank you, that's much appreciated, mate. Tierney's ball into the box is class. Yes, and that's right, Liam. So wouldn't Kieran Tierney be better playing as the sort of wing back? Playing him further forward. But it just shows you that we don't have the defenders. Maybe the manager will go, right, I want to get in two big, strong defenders. We're okay with Trusty at the moment. Scales can do a job, but I want to go and get two powerful guys to play in that back three that's at either side. And then when Cameron Carter-Vickers comes back, you've got Cameron Carter-Vickers, you've got Trusty vying for that position, and then you've got plenty of backup. So it makes us strong again going into Europe, and just the league and cup and that in general. And then you push Tierney forward. You drop Tony Ralston back to the bench. No, I've not heard from Stephen Johnson this morning. Played Tierney as the left wing back. Job share him with Sriracha. Wonder when he'll be fit. And I wonder how much game time that he will get. And I wonder how much game time Sriracha will get. Because I think Sriracha is actually as good and better at some things than Kieran Tierney. And it's great to have that ability to change it about. Kieran Tierney's crosses are way better than Sriracha. I don't think that there's anyone in the field of play, an open game, in an open gameplay situation. I don't think that there's anyone at the club that can put in a better cross than Kieran Tierney. He's a way up there. He's shown why he was a £25 million player, because his crosses, he gets to the byline, crosses it in, and boom. The downside of Kieran Tierney is his defending. He's good on a back four. Comes to a back three, I don't think he's as good. But anyway, let me see what the poll is doing this morning. It's not even on that one. It's on this one. Should Celtic sell Dyson Maeda? There's a super chat come in. See, it's the easiest way to get noticed. Benjamin Nygren can score a goal, but he can't make a 5-yard pass. Happy holidays. Well, the manager spoke about that, and I'll give you exactly what the manager said about the player, if I could find it. He said, just repeating myself, he says, I think he's got big potential. He hasn't reached his potential yet. He's not a dribbler, said the manager, but he has the ability to make runs for his team. He also has technique. He knows that he has to be stronger. He has to believe a little bit more in himself. And I like what I've seen so far. I will challenge him, says him. And he also says that he needs to build up his physicality. And that's I'm talking about the man you're talking about, Benji Nygren. It's interesting. But it's just it's a good comment to see this morning. And I'm going to have to go back into the comments and read the ones that I've learned. Joking to see Sriracha and KT together in this setup. Would Sriracha play in the position that KT's playing in, and would Kieran Tierney play further forward? Can they play in the same team? It's a bit of a Paul Lambert and Neil Lennon situation. Two players for the same position. And a lot of fans at that time said Lambert and Lenny can't play in the same team. Martin O'Neill went, hold my pint, young fella. Hold my cup of tea. I'll show you that they can play in the same team. And they played in the same team, and Paul Lambert scored an absolute screamer at Ibrox, playing in the same team. But anyway, and as much as Wilfried Nancy backed Benji Nygren to get better, the 2 first half goals, I mean, what goals? He's got to be on some amount of goals for the season just now. He has got to be on some amount of goals for the season. The manager also said about yesterday, he liked the competitive spirit that the team had. Right, let's talk about Ralston again. Because Ralston's one player that we do have a love-hate relationship with Tony Ralston. Ralston's a case of he's a player that you kind of need at the club for the Scottish contingent. He's also a player that you kind of need as backup when someone's out injured. You just don't expect that injured player to be out for 5 or 6 months, the way that Alistair Johnston has been. It does show that for all his inability. We know. I mean, I sometimes think it's wrong that we give Tony Ralston stick. We know the limitations of the player. We know that he'll the run through a brick wall for the club. You know, he was getting kicked about all over the place. Yes, what I would give Tony Ralston credit for is a lesser player yesterday would have went off injured. Tony Ralston went through the wars for Celtic yesterday, and yes, he's not the best player, but um, a lesser player would have went off injured. Do you think that Nancy will scout from his homeland in France? Take it you mean Magnus because he's French. You never know. He might bring in the guy that he brought from Fenerbahce to America. Hmm. Uh, Jimmy Clark, Dave Boy says, Jimmy Clark, what's the script for the numbers after the names on this? That's your YouTube account name. You need to go into YouTube. You need to go into your Google settings and change it, David Boy. Liam says, I think you'll come good. Agree, push Tierney forward to the left mid, and Sriracha would be a smashing job share that role. That's an interesting one because that would make us potent. But can Sriracha defend as well? And does he fall into the category of Malby, Valharan, Bobo Baldi? Because we need some physicality in the team for corners and stuff. And I mean, Austin Trusty was getting bullied about the rest of it. This is why Nancy's playing his system from the get go. We need to show more improvement for the up and coming transfer window. Well, there is one thing. I mean, the manager is just he's not playing to the crowd, is he? He's just went, I'm coming in, I'm doing it my way, I'm going to play my system, and it could be a tough ride. Baz Ralston is shite, don't want him anyway. Yeah, the team says Peter. I've got comments on two different screens now, so just to see them coming through. Joseph Davison says Sriracha is better at cutting inwards in the midfield. Well, that's not really what you want, is it? Why was Casper getting games with yeah. I mean, do you think that we would have lost the game? Sinisalo made some great saves yesterday. Nancy's better not bring any shite from Columbus MSL. Well, he's on about bringing an £8 million player that he bought from Fenerbahce, the manager that doesn't know nothing about European football. Better players around Benji Nygren, and I think we have a player there. We say that about, I mean, we say that when I say Goalfest Duff 1888, I mean, people in the chat, in the live chat yesterday, were expecting a Goalfest in the second half, and it didn't happen. That's what I meant by that. I remember the days of Big Bobo Baldi. Used to, yeah. He'd take your legs off. He would that. Um, Nygren is totally lethal in the box. I haven't seen a more accurate player shooting. He always hits the target. Hmm. Their captain used to be like that. Their captain used to be like that. Every time that the captain shot, every time that Calmac shot, which wasn't very too often, he would be on target. Stephen Johnson's in the house. The next two games under this system is madness. We're just. We're just. um, I think that it will be entertaining, that's for sure. I did say, look, get your seatbelts on, strap in, because this is going to be a ride and a half until the manager gets in players. And then it is only then, there's hundreds of people, well, not hundreds, there's loads of people saying good morning to Stephen Johnson. As long as Ralston plays, we will lose goals. Yes. And I think that we all know that. But Sinisalo not the answer, yet to replace Casper, punches, flaps just as much as too cocky casual with the distribution. Could have done better with the two goals at his near posts. Come on, one was it was a swerving ball. You seen the ball curve. as it went into the near post, and the other one comes off the off the post and in. If you watch the other goal, it comes off, it hits the post and goes in. We hit the post 4 times in a game. So, there were good goals, and it was slack defending. When you lose goals like that, it's slack defending. I love Tony for his persistence, loyalty, but time's up, sadly. I like Ralston, that 80s, 80s hairstyle. Magic, leave the bricky alone. I'm not having a dead. I've spoken about him. I think that he should get a medal for the tackles that he went through yesterday. A lesser player would have went off injured. I love to see the chat light up when our main boy Stephen Johnson enters the room. Sinisalo first game, how can people give him stick? Exactly, Liam. We've all been crying out for him. But people will still give players stick and say, oh, he's no any better than what that fucking fat keeper was. But anyway, we move on this morning. You don't get a complimentary applause for doing a back heel. Ralston's an international, don't forget it. He's going to the World Cup, isn't he? Yeah, but come on, that shows you how bad Scotland are in that position. He plays because there's no one else born Scottish or has a Scottish granddad or granny that's better than him, that wants to play for Scotland. Lyndon Dykes plays for Scotland. That's no. I could go through quite a few other players that play for Scotland that would get nowhere near this Celtic team. So we'll just leave that there. Kenny should be put on loan to Rangers. I don't think they would take him somehow. Nenji's worth the occasional rotating as a number 9. He could be back up to his, I don't know. Ralston is shite, don't want him anywhere near the team. AJ's sorts the right side. I just hope that he's back soon. The bold Wilfried and Jota. It's either going to go one way with Wilfried Nancy, isn't it? We're going to struggle through the end of the season and win nothing. And fans will be, right, come on, it's not working out here. We gave him the window. We got his own players in. We've won nothing. If that happens, the manager has to go. There's not many managers get to come in when he has came in beginning of December, and from a potential winning, well, he could have won the cup. Never. Let's lay it on the line for Wilfried Nancy. This is the reality of the situation that we're in. Yes, he's starting to win over the fans slightly, but if he brings in his own players and it doesn't work out, if he loses the league, which we still can do, if he loses the Scottish Cup, which there is a potential, not to Auchinleck Talbot, but there's a potential that we won't win the Scottish Cup. If he fails on all 3 fronts, there's a quote, the question should be asked, should Wilfried Nancy remain at Celtic beyond the summer? Should he be given the summer to build? Would the Celtic fans allow the manager to be given that time? Because right now it's fine, we're winning games, Hearts are bucking up. We could turn it around. Wilfried Nancy could turn it around, and we could win a double. And then Celtic fans are like, yes, we've won a double. But they're still not convinced by the manager, because a lot of Celtic fans will say, well, Wilfried Nancy didn't win the league. Hearts fucked up. And that's the way that football works, and it's the way that football fans work. You will get people saying they didn't win the league. Hearts did in Aberdeen and fell away. Left it. Listen, Rangers think that they're in a league title race also. Ralston getting kicked all over. He's still out there playing. Everybody else went off injured. Yep. I did say that. The abuse Yang gets from fans is actually embarrassing. He works his socks off. He never stops running. I'm with you with that, mate. Yang is improved. But we were talking about at the beginning of the window, the Dies Maida situation. You were thinking if a player if a player that's went through what Yang went through, he was almost sold by the club. He was down in Birmingham. He was ready. He'd signed. He had pen on paper, ready to sign, waiting on Nicholson picking up the phone and say deal done. You know, Nicholson the banker. Could you imagine him on that game show? Where's he got? What boxes are left? I have to make you an offer. I'll come back to you. Game show would go on for weeks. You need to make them an offer. Michael, hello, banker. Hello. It's hung up again. I mean, we make fun of it, but that's the situation that Yang was in the summer. Has Yang upped his game? Brendan Rodgers says there's a player in him. We just need to find it. Could it be the case that he is upping his game to get his move to the bigger league? That could all be, that's all he could be doing. He does get abuse for his defensive roles, but he's not a defensive player. You know, Yang isn't a defensive. I don't think Yang ever wanted to be a defender. Do you know, it's not his position. So putting him in a position where he has to defend is a bit unfair on Yang. Yes, I'm getting forward. The pace, unbelievable. He's a bit like Dyson Maeda in his first couple of seasons at Celtic. His crossing was woeful. Dyson Maeda's shots. Everyone used to say if Dyson Maeda could take a shot like Kyogo, if he had the finishing of Kyogo, he would be an amazing player. A year and a half later, Dyson was top goal scorer at the club with 33 goals. Took it on board. Yang could still be a fantastic, prolific player for Celtic, but we don't know what's going on in the background, and that's the big worry. But yeah, Tierney loves a good pass back down. I'm seeing that on that screen. Let's see, the gaps that up to here. I would rather manager play his own system now. Yeah, and who can play it? It means it could be a good turnaround on players this summer. Seen Benji miss plenty of times. Yeah, but he doesn't get the stick that Johnny Kenny gets, does he? Just saying. Just putting that out there. Probably worth 4 million in today's market. Left-sided midfielder, 60, 2 bad knees, reconstructed shoulder, 8 million. Elf on a shelf these days. I think you're talking about Kyogo. Scaleman must come back into defence at Motherwell. Love Tierney going forward. Maeda striker. Yang is much better under Nancy. Rodgers has a lot to answer for. Ruin Kyogo and Awata. Awata comes under the Paulo Bernardo situation. He plays in the same position as Callum McGregor. You're not going to drop Callum McGregor for Awata or other one. Do we bring back Welsh and Rocky? No chance. You can't. I don't think there's a part in the contract that says that they can return before the end of the season. And would they want to return? Stephen Welsh got pelters from the Celtic fans. Stephen Welsh got pelters online. When your missus and your family is reading the pelters online, it's hard for them to take. Why would you come back and subject your family to that kind of torrent of abuse online? Maybe Welsh has went, do you know what? I'm enjoying my football. My mother's well. Well, she was yesterday, but could have been better. There has been 233 votes. Should we sell Dyson Maeda in the next transfer window? Yes is sitting at 55%. And the no's are sitting at 45%. Interesting. I think there are a lot of players off it yesterday, and the manager had more time to work with them. We certainly didn't play to the way that we did. And is that because we were away from home? We didn't play like we did against Aberdeen, which could say one or two things. It was the pitch, because the ball fairly spun along that pitch. I mean, You just had to tap the ball, and it just floated along the pitch with some pace. So could be ready. Could be the pitch. Could have been just the day. Dyson is already going for less in January than we could have got from him in the summer. Get him sold in January. Carmack used to be the focal point in the team. Now he's a passenger because of the system. I think he'll be off to Dubai in January. I don't think that he's a passenger. A lot of teams over the last 3 years have man-marked Callum McGregor because they know that everything comes through it. Scott Brown used to get man-marked, but Scott Brown was, the type of player that he would love that part of the game. Callum McGregor gets man-marked and he's running about, and people are like, what the fuck's Callum doing? He's fucking running about doing nothing. Well, he's trying to get rid of his man-marker. And that's where you have, when you have the double pivot in that holding midfield role, as Benji should do, or Arnie Engels has done, you bring someone else in to kind of mix it up a bit and take the pressure off Calmac. Does it bring another player into the game? Well, it could bring another player into that holding midfield role from an attacking sense, and it makes it then difficult for you to make passes, because if there's normally just one player on your midfield player, if he's getting man-marked, if you bring another midfield player in to try and mix it up with Callum, it brings another player in from the opposition. It then makes it harder for wingers and fullbacks to pass it into that middle position, because they've generally got three attackers coming forward to try and nullify the two holding midfield role. There lies the problem from an attacking point of view. But people just see it as he's fucking doing nothing. He's running about headless in the middle of the park. But watch the game sometimes. The bigger picture is doesn't really matter if we ship goals as long as we score. As long as we, Ange Postecoglou said that. It's always been the Celtic way. Score more goals than the opposition, and you'll do fine. Big Rocky, bring Big Rocky all day long. I don't know if there is the chance to bring him back. His team said that there isn't. The team that he's at, maybe the player wouldn't want to come back. You've got to ask that as well. I mean, I don't know what game time he's getting. I mean, if he's playing lots of football over there, why do you want to come back and sit on the bench at Celtic? We did that with Gustav Lagerbielke. We told him he was not good enough. We put him out on loan. We then brought him back early, and he sat on the bench to the end of the season. Don't know, and that made the boys just go, "Fuck this! This club's a shambles. I'm off." KT hit a ball down the line, the ball goes out for a throw into Livy. Yeah, that's because him and Daizen Maeda don't talk to each other. Kieran Tierney passes it thinking Daizen Maeda should be on the touchline, which he maybe does in training, but Daizen Maeda was nowhere near it. You could say the same about Yang yesterday with Ralston. Sinisalo's better than Casper, and probably shares his after training donuts. What was the point of Simpson Posey? He's not fit for this system. I don't think that if it's was he fit for the system, or hmm, I don't. I've never understood why we brought in Simpson Posey in full stop, because we put a player out on loan. He was brought in to fill a gap, but don't know. Keogh got to score the winner against Rangers. Oh, Jesus. Um, who would you sign in January? Who would I sign in January? Two defenders, a winger, and a striker. Who? I've no idea, because you don't know who would fit the system. And I don't think that there's anybody in Scottish football that stands out as well. If you're talking just at the local market, and I've not watched enough football recently to comment any other than that. And it's not my job to do it anyway. Right hand side of the squad has to be addressed by brother Wilfried. That's what I just said. The winger, we need a winger in that place. I think Nancy will come good, given time and money to spend. Oh, and then that'll have people saying the board will not give him money to spend. Don't give the board another penny. Not winning this league is marching orders. Kick him back to France. I think so. If we don't win the double, the double is now the ultimate goal for this Celtic team, a domestic double. And if we don't win a domestic double, I mean, the league's important. The league's a must win. But we're that used to success at Celtic. We don't think, we're not like another club that thinks we should be winning every year. Do you know, we've worked, have worked for their success. They've trained hard, they've played hard, they've been hard to beat, they've been the dominant team, not by spending and outspending. Well, people will say, well, they have spent, they've outspent everyone in the league. Well, we've got a team that's made consistent losses over the period. You know, Celtic have done well to keep themselves in a good financial state. Why is it saying this is poor? Anyway, right, I'm going to jump through. We played defensive like Sevco will pump us, says Dave Morton, 67, in the heat of Lisbon. How can you slate Scotsman Ralston and then defend Irishman Kenny? Discrimination, says the man who wants to bring back Kyogo. Fuck using Nicholson for phone a friend. I tell you. Michael, this is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Me. Goodbye. That would be Nicholson. Anyway, I'm going to end up the poll this morning because that's just coming up for the hour mark, even though it started late this morning. Should Celtic sell Daizen Maeda in the next transfer window? 54% say yes, 64% say no, with over 270 votes on the poll. Thank you for voting, everyone. Maybe Bobby Lennox could come back. Oh, what's the new rumours about Gigi yesterday? No, we're not bringing Kyogo and Gigi back. Jesus God. But anyway, he wouldn't answer. No, he wouldn't. He would get the phone call and be like, Michael, hey, this is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Is it? Oh, I do. Goodbye. Hang up. Anyway, Super Show Baz, Dave won't be a happy chappy. Me. Have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. And we've got a game on Tuesday. The joys. The absolute joys.